You little bigot. You disgusting little racist. You racist scum. You filthy little you fascist. You disgust me.
Ricky Gervais has roasted Hollywood elites to their faces, called out political hypocrisy, and mocked the absurdity of cancel culture, all without breaking a sweat. While most celebrities walk on eggshells, terrified of saying the wrong thing, he doubles down and laughs in the face of outrage. So, how has he managed to expose the insanity of woke culture time and time again without getting cancelled?
It really is that case of people come up and they say, I was offended by that joke. And, my first reaction is, I don't care. Like, well, that doesn't mean anything. You're telling me how you feel.
One of Ricky's most famous takes on offense is something that everyone needs to hear at least once in their life. He says, just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. And he's right.
I want to say why. And I'll explain to them. I'm willing to explain to them why the joke isn't offensive. I'm not one of the people that think, I'm going to say what I want, I'm going to be as offensive, and then go fuck you as a joke. I'm willing to explain why it's not offensive.
People today act as if being offended is some sort of superpower that should immediately shut down a conversation. But Ricky doesn't buy into that nonsense. He points out that offense is subjective. What offends one person might not offend another.
That often offense comes when people mistake the subject of a joke with the actual target, and they're not necessarily the same, particularly if you deal in taboo subjects, which I do, because I want to go there, because I want to take the audience by the hand and take them through a scary forest.
Think about it. Some people are offended by equality, others by jokes, and some just look for things to be offended about because it gives them a sense of moral superiority. But if we let offense dictate what we can and can't say, we'd have no comedy, no debate, and no freedom of speech.
Because that's what most people worry about. If you're in a safe world where your firstborn isn't dying of dysentery and you're not being shot at, the worst thing that happens is something embarrassing happens to you, or you say a stupid thing or bad service. So that's why I deal with those things.
And that's exactly why he refuses to apologize for his jokes. Comedy isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about making people laugh and sometimes making them think.
It was a Caitlyn Jenner joke, right? Oh, outrage on Twitter the next day. And by outrage, I mean a couple of people going, it was transphobic. It wasn't transphobic in the slightest. It was a joke about a trans person, but the joke had nothing to do with that aspect of her existence.
Ricky got into hot water after he made a joke about Caitlyn Jenner at the Golden Globes. The joke wasn't even about her being trans. It was about her driving record. But, of course, the outrage mob came after him, accusing him of dead-naming her and being transphobic.
Please welcome Ricky Gervais. They come on, and they're all clapping, all the actors are looking up, smiling at me nervously. It's brilliant, right? So I just go, relax. I'm going to be nice tonight. I've changed. Not as much as Bruce Jenner.
What did Ricky do? He doubled down. He admitted that he didn't even know what dead-naming meant until the backlash, which just shows how quickly new rules are created in the world of political correctness.
I found out my crime was that I dead-named her. Now, I'd never heard that term, before a day after the Golden Globes, and that was saying her old name, and even acknowledging that she used to be a man.
He pointed out the absurdity of trying to rewrite history. Bruce Jenner was a real person, an Olympic athlete, and widely known before transitioning. Acknowledging that isn't transphobic, it's just a fact.
And Bruce Jenner went, that was his name for 58 years, I think.
This is exactly what makes Ricky so brilliant. He refuses to play the game where words get redefined overnight. And if you don't immediately conform, you're labeled a bigot.
They bow to this pressure of going, oh, these witch hunts going, are there things you shouldn't make jokes about? It depends what the joke is. Comedy comes from a good or a bad place. It's contextual.
Another legendary moment was when Ricky ripped apart the idea of woke comedy.
Comedy evolves, There's a new type of comedy at the moment called woke comedy, right? No, it's very progressive, you know. There are some clubs now where the comedian has to sign a thing saying he won't say anything contentious or he won't say anything that could offend anyone. It's a safe space.
He explained how some comedy clubs now require comedians to sign agreements promising not to offend anyone. The whole idea of safe space comedy is ridiculous because, as he puts it, comedy is about pushing boundaries, dealing with taboos, and sometimes being ironic.
I don't care what people think, and I refuse to apologise for it. I mean, growing up, I always used to sort of like, you know, test the boundaries a little bit and try and get people to laugh at things they thought they shouldn't.
Instead of making people laugh, woke comedy has turned into a performance of virtue signaling. And honestly, if you have to sign a form saying you won't be offensive, is it even comedy at that point?
Woke comedy, and I tried to watch a bit of it, and I decided I'd rather watch Louis C.K. masturbate. Can't mention him anymore, he's cancelled. Not enough to apologise and move on.
Ricky even joked that he tried watching some woke comedy, but decided he'd rather watch Louis C.K. masturbate. If that's not a brutal takedown, I don't know what is.
True to form, Ricky Gervais has had a red-hot go at his celebrity mates. He's criticised them for complaining about having to isolate in their mansions.
Even though Ricky doesn't usually get political, he has had enough of how corrupt politicians are. He called them out for their hypocrisy during the pandemic, when they were partying while telling the public to stay home.
And being left with sores after risking their own health and their family's health selflessly. The comedian has been promoting the second season of his hit show Afterlife, which airs on Netflix April 24.
He compared them to Charlie Sheen, living recklessly while pretending everything is fine. And honestly, that's exactly what they did.
The 58-year-old wants people to focus on the sacrifices being made by healthcare workers. He says these people are doing 14-hour shifts and not complaining.
The best part? He even addressed the fact that no matter who you vote for, politicians always seem to do a complete 180 once they're in power. It's all a game, and they pretend to care about the people while living lives of luxury.
About 38, they were, oh, fuck me, they look all right. Size chart. I go, well, they'll be a bit long, but they'll be a bit tight. I thought, $9.99. I thought, oh, fuck it, who cares, right? So I ordered them. They came the next day. I opened them up. They were shit.
This was a refreshing take, because it wasn't about left versus right. It was about exposing the fact that the political elite don't care about the people they claim to represent.
Black people, they use the N-word, don't they? We invented that.
One of the funniest moments was when Ricky mocked the idea of cultural appropriation.
Cultural appropriation, the latest no-no. Now, again, in my day, it was considered a good thing to swap ideas with other cultures, with other nations, to share things with other races, to assimilate. It was the opposite of racist.
He pointed out how, in the past, sharing cultures was seen as a good thing. It was about learning from each other. Now, people get offended if someone wears a hairstyle or cooks a dish that originated from a different culture.
Gwen Stefani got in trouble in her last video because she had her blonde hair in dreadlocks. People go, no, black people invented dreadlocks, you can't have them, you're white, that's racist. Jamie Oliver got in trouble when he put out authentic jerk chicken recipe. People go, no, black people invented that, you can't have it, you're white, that's racist.
He gave the example of Gwen Stefani getting in trouble for wearing dreadlocks, and Jamie Oliver being criticized for making jerk chicken.
I know white people are the worst. I know that. That's why no one likes a fucking white middle-aged man anymore until we need a boiler fixing. That is, get the bald bloke round now.
His response? It's ridiculous. Cultures should mix, and if you take the idea of cultural appropriation seriously, then logically, black people shouldn't use the English language. But of course, nobody applies the rules consistently because they don't make sense.
Critical race theory, have you heard of that? Being taught in schools now, particularly in trendy areas like LA, right? Just like 5-year-old kids and 6-year-old kids. If you haven't heard it, in a nutshell, critical race theory says that all white people are racist.
This one was so insane that it barely needed a joke. Ricky called out a taxpayer-funded food bank that tried to ban white people from receiving food. The backlash was so severe that it was forced to shut down.
We're born racist, and we continue to be racist because we're affording the privilege of a racist society set up by our forefathers, okay? So basically, all white people are racist, and there's nothing we can do about it, which is a relief.
His simple response was perfect. If you're preventing hungry people from getting food based on their skin color, You are part of the problem.
A new dogma arises in the name of progress. Now, dogma is never progressive, however new and trendy, but I think soon I'll be outnumbered. And, like, it was only this year that I ordered my first item off Amazon. All the way through the pandemic, Jane's like, bang, things are arriving, we need this, bang, it's here.
And honestly, that's the kind of common sense that seems to be disappearing today. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.